I'm Prue MacSween, and I hate PC and anything woke.
They say politics is show business for ugly people, so boy am I glad to be out of that. I'm Hollie Hughes, former Liberal Senator, little bit conservative, always controversial.
Hello, my name is Libbi Gorr. I am a filmmaker and a podcaster of Red Card for Mummy and other soccer stories. That's the secret life of travel is bit of the game, plus ad-libbing, which is old conversations. And that's why I'm here, because quite frankly, I just can't get enough of you right-wing nutters.
I love wokeness and all things PC. I also lie almost 24 hours a day. My name is Tim Blair. I'm a Daily Telegraph columnist and a frequent Sky TV light relief amusement component.
Hi darlings, I'm Carlotta. I hate political correctness, and I say it as it is.
And I am TV and radio presenter Rob McKnight. Remember, McKnight is always right, no matter what they say. Welcome to Booty and the Beast. This show is like a box of chocolates. There's always one that tastes horrible and you spit out. But gee, we have some great tasting ones as well. I'll let you work out what I mean by that tortured metaphor. Hollie has our first question today. Over to you, Hollie.
Oh, Rob and Lordy, what a doozy it is. Dear Booties and Beasts, lately my boyfriend has been asking me to wear different animal things to bed.
Yeah.
It started with a dog collar, then he put a lead on it and started walking me around the house. I thought it was a bit of fun, drew the line at barking, but if it keeps him happy, I'm happy. However, it's progressed. Now, I have to wear a female dog suit, and he started wearing a dog suit too. I never signed up for a furry lifestyle. I just can't get into it. I love him, but being forced to dress up as a dog for sex and having to sniff him instead of talking is getting a little too weird for me. Is he barking mad? What like Dorothy Sand? Lord, what often I'm lost for work. I mean, seriously, run. This is insane. I mean, darling, I guess when the dog collar came out, you had the first problem. I mean, what, it turned on by Clover Moore, God help us all. But the fact that it's turning the dog collar and sniffing rather than talking, I mean, no, I mean, honestly, I mean, if you're staying, I'm starting to think the problem could be you. I mean, you're really on this sort of behaviour, and this is completely unacceptable blaming. I am going to be blamed here because you've put up with this and let it progress. You should have drawn the line at the dog collar, not the barking. This should have been over when it started. Oh, you are darling Dorothy. Tinder, the Bumble, whatever. My ex-husband can probably advise me on the ball. Apparently he enjoyed them while we were still married. Find someone else, stop, because whoever's this tree's got to go.
Tim, isn't this really simple? She should just cock her leg, pee all over the place and say, you want me to be a dog? That's what dogs do.
Well, you know, this God, I don't know. Yeah, I'm a little bit.
I've never seen Tim lost for words. This is a first. This is amazing.
For a bit of novelty, do they do it human style? Like it. I think, you know, a lot of things sound sort of attractive sometimes, like, you know, new ventures or polyamory or socialism, and then you actually see the people who are involved and you realise, no, that's bad. This particular kink, though, you can't even see them because they're covered in fake fur. I wouldn't call it.
That's a good thing.
That they should be, that she should be bailing on this relationship. But maybe before that, if she wants to let her man experience the full dog sort of deal, a trip to the vet.
Well, get him dooted.
A lot of
Libbi, what do you think?
I'll put him in the garage, quite frankly. No, look, this is interesting. Now, I know that our friend Dorothy comes from Sans Souci, which is the French for without troubles. Obviously, living in the wrong suburb. But if we just take it a little bit further than that, I think your expectations of a long-term relationship might be slightly serious. Because if you're still expecting to talk as foreplay rather than just sniff it out, you haven't been together long enough. However, here's the interesting thing. I like to think of myself as a glass half full kind of person. And the good thing about this is if you are actually doing it doggy style, at least you don't have to look at him while you're doing it. And that has to be a blessing. So quite frankly, make the most
Silver lining
on it. Take yourself out for a walk occasionally, and as all hell breaks loose, you can always take him to the vet.
For more Booty and the Beasts content, join us on social media. We're on Instagram and TikTok at Booty and the Beasts AU. In high school, my dating life was like Bigfoot or the Yeti. It didn't exist. But our next letter writer seems to have found his act and got his act together as an adult. But it's not all going his way. Prue, what is Mark's issue?
Well, Mark has written, after putting a lot of time and effort into picking up a particular lady, she finally agreed to date with me. I wanted to impress her, so I booked into a very expensive buffet. It was $148 each. Well, she hardly ate a thing, and I felt she was really rather ungrateful for not enjoying the feast. I kept asking if she'd like more, but she said she didn't want to overeat. I explained that it was paid for and that it wasn't being greedy, but she just wouldn't have more food. Now, the night ended nicely. I even got a peck on my cheek, but I can't help thinking she isn't worth my time and money. It left a bad taste in my mouth. What do you think I should do? Well, Mark from Bondi, I think the problem may be that she was thinking she was going to be dessert and didn't put a full tummy with you not on top of that. So I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt here because, sex when you've had, stuffed yourself stupid in one of those buffets is not actually a very good thing to do. So give her another go, but just take her to the local Chinese and then you'll be fine.
Was he expecting too much, Carlotta, from this date?
Oh, my God, why didn't he ask her what she liked before he took her out? This guy deserves what he got. I'm sorry. There's common sense is, you're on a first date, you find out what your date is going to like, what their likes and what their dislikes are, stupid bastard.
But it was a buffet. She could have had whatever she wanted. So I thought it was quite smart he took her to a buffet because you could have a whole range of different food. I just think she was...
Yeah, but why get the poops? Because she doesn't want to eat everything.
Well, I'm just delighted to hear that we've still got buffets.
Not Sizzlers anymore, though. Sizzler. Oh.
Sizzler, like my neck and Sizzlers. I think Libbi, as a Melbourne girl, might remember the beautifully named Smorgies, which was I think in this case, Mark might not have read signals very clearly, and I think perhaps it's something to do with what Prue said, that there might have been an anticipation of enhanced physicality that might not have been good on that kind of fun. But also, typically, very successful first dates in restaurants don't involve a lot of eating. You tend to get distracted by the person. You get immersed in conversation. You get lost in it.
Yeah.
And the alcohol always helps.
There's a whole plate of the whole table full of food that you haven't touched because you're all like, just gazing into each other's eyes with wonderment and awe. So maybe Mark's just not good at picking up signals, and evidently is a bit pissy about picking up the bill as well.
Look, I've got to say, if someone took me on a first date to a buffet, there wouldn't be a second.
Why am I not surprised by that, Hollie? Nothing's good enough for you.
No, that's not true. But one must have standards. And I must say, for $148 per person, including booze, that would definitely be the deal breaker there.
Well, my first date with Amanda was at McDonald's, and we'd been married 22 years.
I mean, McDonald's at 15's one thing. But it sounds like you could.
I wish we were 15. We were in our 20s.
You know, it's a good
And you were serving.
right.
Well, we're talking a lot about relationships today, and when you start a new relationship, there's a lot to work out with your new partner. But I have to be honest, Tim, I've never even considered this.
Well, let's consider the issues raised by Joe of Brisbane. That's Joe with one O. Maybe male, maybe female, we don't know. Dear panel, I've never really known what to call genitals. Well, that's ironic because I get called genitals all the time. And when I have a new bedmate, I really get anxious about this and try to step around it. Penis and vagina seem so clinical. A lot of other words that my friends use sound a bit crude or weird. I fear they might get the wrong impression of me if I was to use terms like vajayjay, beaver, sausage, or flower. Can you please give me some guidance and suggestions? Well, that's what we're here for, Joe. My suggestion would be to use a commonplace term, one that is not obviously metaphorical or suggestive of sexuality in any way at all. Just something that would be known as a sexual thing between you and your partner. It'd be like a code word. And also you'd have the added benefit of when you hear that word used in general conversation, it might give you some slight excitement at your own little thing. I suggest the word Bunnings for any kind of sexual component. That way, when you hear people talking about there was such a queue at Bunnings last night, people were just waiting for the I got rear-ended from the car park at Bunnings. There's one man, nothing obviously related to Bunnings. I think just go with maybe Bunnings is the female aspect of it, and the male is my team. I don't know. Up to you. Come up with something retail related and take it from there.
Carlotta, what did you call yours before you chopped it off?
My happy sex.
Well, as we age, our bodies go through a lot of change, and for our families, that can sometimes be difficult to deal with. Libbi has our next letter.
My problem is to do with my auntie. She's 68 and dementia is starting to take over. Without knowing it, she repeats the same thing several times over in the space of a couple of minutes, forgets where she puts things and doesn't always remember my name. Naturally, I understand the behaviour, however, it wears me out, and I think many of her friends have stopped seeing her for the same reasons. I'm aware there's support available, but this doesn't help with her friends avoiding her, and I know she misses them. I've tried hosting some little morning and afternoon teas with them, but fewer and fewer turn up. Any advice is welcome, please. That's from Angela in Redlands. You know, Angela, I heard a really interesting story on Life Matters on the ABC, you know, that useful broadcasting device about people who have dementia. And one thing that you're not meant to do is remind them of sad things. So, for instance, if someone's died and they start talking about that person, it's better not to say, oh, no, Uncle Greg is dead, and re-upset them all over again. You just sort of go along with the fantasy, and that's the kindest thing to do when someone has got dementia rather than re-traumatising by reminding of the truth. But in this instance, when it's got to do with friends and tea parties, I think that the dementia is on your side because sooner or later, well, definitely sooner, your auntie's got to actually even forget that she has those friends. So as they drop off, it's going to hurt her less. And then you can invite your friends. She'll think they're there, her friends, and then you actually can make a positive out of the negative and host your own mates at a tea party for your auntie. She'll think they're hers. You get to see your mates, so you're doing two things at once. Nobody misses out. Everybody wins. Everybody's happy.
Nice idea. Hollie, it is an issue a lot of people are going through, though.
Oh, look, and my heart breaks for Angela. I went through a similar thing with my mum. She had dementia for 8, 9 years, got to the point she didn't know who I was, who my children were. And I remember laughing with my dad going, I'd really like to know how old she thinks I actually am, who her daughter Hollie was, because I remember her telling me that I couldn't possibly be her daughter, which I mean, is incredibly hurtful and upsetting at the time, but you do have to always try and find the upside of things. And Angela, the only upside I can give you, as painful as it is for you, the beautiful thing once the dementia actually takes hold is they don't know and they don't have any of the hurt or pain that you're experiencing. It is actually the people that are left behind that suffer way, way more than the person actually going through the dementia. But I think what you're doing is beautiful. I think just being there is a lovely thing, whether they know who you are or you're not. It'll certainly help you cope with it a little bit better. I remember needing quite the large glass of Chardonnay after going to see Mum just to kind of get over the upset because it's a real thing. But look, Angela, my heart breaks for you. So many of us go through it, and I think it's something that we should be more open about and more understanding, because it could happen to any of us.
You see, that is exactly what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Tin, it is one of those things that affects different people in different ways. You never know what you're going to get when it comes to dementia and things like Alzheimer's.
Absolutely. I think also 68 probably still falls within early onset.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Given that these days, what's the retirement age of 67, so 68 is still pretty early. My family's been very fortunate to this point that we don't have a great strain, but like everyone, everyone over, I guess, the age of 40 or 50, we all know of people who've suffered it. Just anecdotally, I suspect that maybe journalism is overrepresented, because I've known several dementia and Alzheimer's cases in journalism, and it's just what Hollie says. It's more painful for the observer than the observed. When you notice people who by the nature of their profession are completely engaged in day-to-day events, or hour-to-hour or minute-to-minute breaking news, and the loss of that, oftentimes it isn't gradual. It's oftentimes very alarmingly sudden. It's very hard for people to deal with. But I think also, I think it's very good advice for Hollie to look at it from the other side, not to make yourself the main character. As it's not our it's obviously a problem that we have to deal with, people who are suffering these sort of things, but we're not the sufferer. And I think it's great advice that we take that attitude.
Carlotta, you're 82 now and you have a wide friendship group. Have you noticed this happening within your friends?
Yes, unfortunately, I've got a couple of friends, and what happens is I've got one particular friend who keeps repeating the same things, when they come around and all that. But I saw a wonderful documentary about Alzheimer's, and it had to do with music. And and what they did was they played the music of the period that these people had lived in, and they related to it. Because with dementia, you don't know whether it's going to go nicely or it can turn nastily.
Prue, there's been research recently that says dementia isn't an inevitable part of aging. We can slow the process, better eating, exercise, and, there's things we can do to make sure we try and head off the disease.
There are, and keeping yourself active, although I'm dealing with this now. My mum is 102. She's been active all her life, but now she's having dementia. And it's quite sad to see just how this woman's life has diminished. The thing is that it's so prevalent. In fact, it's the second biggest cause of death in Australia, and it's likely to become the major cause. It already is number one with women. And there are something like 1.6 million Australians caring for people with dementia. So it's something we should all address, and there are a lot of organisations there that can help, particularly Dementia Australia is the first one that comes to mind, and it gives you so much support, and they actually do use a facility where they can mix people with dementia with other people. I don't know what the conversations would be like, but I think it's something that the supporter is very keen to do. And I know that there's been a lot of care, coming back to the music that Carol said, there are memory boxes, which a lot of the aged care homes introduce, which are pieces of their life that trigger their memory, and
That's right, yeah.
very good as well. But it's very, very tough and very sad. I walk away from seeing my mother every day, and it's heartbreaking to see what she's going through, because she still has moments of lucidity. As Hollie said, once you lose them entirely, then it's probably going to be a lot easier.
And I just want to add to what Carlotta was saying about the music being a trigger. I think we tend always to think of when we're playing music for the old timers that it's old timey music, and it's a generational thing. We should remember that only a few years ago that a founding member of AC/DC died from dementia. So crank up AC/DC at the old timers' homes and let them rock.
So how do you get your partner to listen to you when something about them is really bothering you? We're about to find out. Carlotta, what does Jenny have to ask?
Well, Jenny from Darwin writes, Dear Beauties and the Beast, my husband insists on having long toenails. Oh my God, I'm nearly throwing up already.
Yeah.
Not only do they look hideous, they put holes in the sheets, but they hurt. Holes in the sheets, but they hurt me. Oh, God, these poor bitches. When they accommodate, I get...
No, when you're
intimate.
When you're intimate. When we get intimate, they stamp me. I get stamped and scratched, and if I see them during the act, it's a real turn-up. Terrible turn-up. I've asked and pleaded with him to trim them, even offered him rewards, but to no avail. He thinks they make him look manly. I think because he's been lazy and primal. Thoughts of how I could stop this insanity, please help me. Yes, I can help you. Get rid of the arsehole. Or take him outside and get the edge clippers and pull him out. Oh my God, that is revolting. That is so disgusting.
Libbi, it sounds like she's sleeping with Wolverine. But I'm sure this guy doesn't look like Hugh Jackman.
Well, I think you're right on that one, Rob. I think you've hit it right on the head. But you know what I would be most upset about? I'd be really upset about the sheets. Frankly, getting a new set, that's expensive. So I would just take him out to Bed, Bath and Table or wherever you get your Sheridan. Let him buy the sheets himself, and then maybe he might see that there are consequences to this insanity. The sex bit, look, we've talked about that before. I don't quite know what the dog theme is in this particular show, but quite frankly, you don't have to see the toenails when you're having sex if you just change position.
Yeah, but that's scratch.
Well, not if you're backwards.
Yep. Jump in.
Oh, I'm not getting you out of this one. No. One of the things that is one of the many things that's lovely about this program is how much we learn about the panelists as much as we learn about the people. Right? That's so true. Libbi is a thread count girl. She knows the thread
I am a
count.
thread
She
count
knows
girl.
the value of the gift of thread counts. She's like,
That is not where I thought you were going, but anyway.
Well,
I never
good
did.
pedicure, and I count my threads. Thank you.
To the matter at hand, or the matter at foot, if you will.
Yes.
If it's an issue, if removal is the concern, if there's a barrier to removal, why not go instead for concealment? Have you thought about a dog costume? Well, maybe don't go all the full canine way, but maybe just the other half sheep with some really big hugs. Then you're good to go. Hugs rock.
Give him
By the
a
way,
kitty litter box.
Holly, have you got any advice for Jenny?
I read Carol, I had a little vomit in my mouth as you were reading that. And it's truly an honest,
You did.
disgusting
It
act.
is. Listen, I'm going to try to throw up easily.
Gosh. No, look, honestly, love, maybe try a day spa, take him out for the day, get him a pedi, make sure that, they get in there, and I'm sure they're not clean as well. I've just got a visual that I can't shake. But I'm with Carol, get rid of him if he won't cut his toenails. That is disgusting and quite frankly, very unhygienic. He's putting your health at risk. If he nicks you in bed with those talons on his feet that are filthy, you could end up with a bit of sepsis and lose your leg. I mean, goodness me. It's a matter of preservation, dog. So, step one, a day spa and a pedi. Step two, show him the door. And I think that's it. End of story.
Well, if I can just add to the overall vomiting in the mouth kind of imagery. I once heard an angry editor tell a photographer to go back and cover a story again. He'd covered a beach story. He'd gone and I think the brief was to go and get some pretty people on the beach. It was a lovely summer day. And came back with, as the editor said, nothing but pictures of old blokes with toenails like twisties. And get people with...
Is that an aging thing for you, blokes? Is this what happens to your feet? It's disgusting.
Not if they cut your toenails.
I think it's a male thing. They get... And also, I think there's a laziness factor involved here. As you age, toenails just become... I mean, seriously, you could put the black boxes for aircraft inside toenails because they're indestructible. They're almost impossible to break apart. They're like carbon fiber blended with Kevlar.
Wow. I'm obviously not there yet. Prue, isn't this really simple? Kick him out of bed until he cuts those toenails.
Well, it's cut or the couch. That's the thing. But what I'm interested in, that he says it makes him feel more manly. So clearly the guy has an issue about his manliness, or feels that she either doesn't find him sexy, or, maybe he grows his hair to look like an orangutan because he wants to be more primal. We don't actually know. But you need to make him feel more manly. Maybe build him up a bit. Even suggest maybe that if you...
Hang on, why is it her job to make him feel manly?
Exactly.
She wants the toenails cut. Cut the bloody toenails.
I know, but the point is, some of you blokes don't understand the ultimatums that are being given, and he probably thinks she would never go or leave him. But, maybe she...
Well, withholding sex only works if you're actually having sex.
Well, exactly. But if she's going to be at risk health-wise, why would you have sex? It's interesting. Maybe what I would do is say, Darls, sit on the toilet seat. If you cut your toenails, I'll give you a blowjob. I think that might make him more manly. And maybe...
That'll work.
On the toilet?
Yeah, but on the toilet, that's a...
Well, she needs... Well, any chair will do. I was just trying to keep the flow of...
He might have
into the bathroom.
complex. I think he's around.
This is what's so interesting about the generations, is that the baby boomers like Prue think give him a blowjob and that'll fix everything. And Generation X like me, which is so much more practical, is like slam his foot in the door and the toenails will fall out of
Well, did you learn something today? I'm not sure I did.
Yeah.
Unless it was the lesson that people are weird. Anyway, that brings us to the end of Booty and the Beast. Just go to Booty and the Beast AU on Instagram and TikTok and share your thoughts on the answers we've given to these stories. A big thanks to the panel for joining us. We'll see you next time on Booty and the Beast. Bye.